Why was the Office of the Family Advocate established? How different is the role of the family advocate from that of social workers? And how does the family advocate ensure that children do not become victims of a divorce or disputes? What are the key challenges of the family advocate? What time is it? It's question time. A very good evening to you and welcome to Question Time. I'm your host, Sipiwe Nzau, and be standing in for Mpotsedu. Now, Minister of Justice and Correctional Services Michael Masutha recently led the celebrations of the 25th anniversary of the Family Advocate in Kimberley, Northern Cape rather. The Office of the Family Advocate was established in October 1990. Its key mandate is to ensure that children are protected in instances where their parents are in dispute. Currently in South Africa, there are 26 offices in all 9 provinces, and an average of 2,000 family mediation matters are dealt with by family advocates every month. Now, a reminder that you can also call in right here in the studio. The number to dial is 089 110 4210, or rather 002789 110 4210, or go and tweet us. The Twitter handle is at QuestionTime24. Now, my guest today is Advocate Nthabiseng Tokwane, Principal Family Advocate in Gauteng. Nthabiseng, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's talk about the Office of the Family Advocate. Why was there a need to establish one?
The Office of the Family Advocate initially was established because in divorce matters you would find that both parties are represented. Mm-hmm. The plaintiff and the defendant would have their own respective representatives. Yeah. And that would leave the children in the divorce not represented. So the Family Advocate's Office was established to look into what's best for the children in situations of divorces, so that the welfare of the children is taken care of and provided for. So the Family Advocate's Office would then have the mandate of protecting and promoting the best interest of the children in divorce matters. But you'd find that the role has extended, because initially the Family Advocates would only look into situations pertinent to divorces. Yeah. However, currently we're not only focused on divorces, but we also look into matters where there's parental responsibilities and rights disputes. Yes. Where children are concerned. And then we then recommend and advise the court as to what's best for the children in their circumstances. All right. So since its inception in October 1990, what kind of challenges have you faced? Definitely you are bringing in a legal system into a family setup. You should have faced certain challenges. There's been a lot of challenges, like I indicated. Initially, we focused mainly on divorces. But then we had to grow. The initial challenge would be the fact that we would only be in instances where the High Court was involved, and we would not find ourselves protecting the interest of all children involved in parental rights and responsibilities disputes. So the first challenge was the fact that we initially started with just one office in Pretoria. Right. In 1992, we found ourselves going to 6 offices in the country. And it must tell you that then it says there were challenges around accessibility, and there were inconsistencies in terms of protection of best interest of the children, because those children whose parents take their divorces to the High Courts would then get the protection. However, the children whose parents would take their matters to the divorce courts that would assist African people would not get the same protection. You'd also have challenges around the, like I indicated, accessibility. Then it says traveling, especially in areas, in your rural areas, where you would only have one office. Absolutely. And for us to reach the people would then have to drive miles and miles. Then it once more says you have limitations in terms of getting to the people. You have limitations in terms of numbers of people that can get to the people. And I think basically those were the challenges. But you also have challenges around how you get received as family advocates by the families that you will deal with. Where an African family is concerned, for instance, with me being a female advocate.
Bringing cause at home.
With me being a female advocate, having to interview an African man, your Zulu man, for instance, mostly you find that I'm a female advocate working with a female social worker. And an African man will say, but I'm not going to have two women dealing with my matter. It says you have the challenge of having to apprise yourself of the background of the people, their culture, and how you get to deal with them. Right. But we've also had, I indicated about the number of officers, which was 6. It therefore says there were challenges around footprint. You also have challenges in terms of numbers. Establishment.
Talking about
the
numbers,
family advocates.
You've got 2,000 cases that you deal with on a monthly basis as the Office of the Family Advocate. Isn't that an overload? Do you have perhaps partnership with other NGOs or other government departments?
Not necessarily. We have social workers in our offices that are styled family counsellors. Our family counsellors are restricted to matters pertaining to parental responsibilities and rights. Right. And sometimes you find that the challenges that you encounter, like I'll give you an example where a child is regarded to be a child in need of care and they may have to be removed from the circumstances. Our family counsellors would not be able to do that because that's not their mandate. However, they are then able to liaise with the social workers from the Department of Social Development that would be in a position to then assist with the actual removal of such children.
So how different is this from the Children's Court we initially had and that is still in operation? Is this perhaps only focusing this office only on disputes, or is this perhaps a follow-up or a transgression from sort of the Children's Court to a family initiated sort of setup?
The Children's Court will be there to look into the welfare of children generally. Applications would be sent to the Children's Court. However, the family advocate doesn't operate like a court. A family advocate would be in picture to assist the Children's Court in the determination of what's best for the children. Yes. Let me give you an example where a father of a child brings up an application with the court for care or for parental responsibilities and rights generally. Normally the court will send the matter to the family advocate to make a determination in terms of whether what the father requires of the court to grant would serve the best interest of the child. So the family advocate would then be involved to investigate and advise the court in terms of whether what the father requires, the rights that the father require, would it be best for a child, for the father to be granted such rights? I
also understand that you're trying to enforce the matter of mediation instead of litigation. What difference is this? Is there between having a case litigated and having it mediated, rather?
A litigated matter would be a matter that's before court, where the court would have to adjudicate on and give an order. Mediation would be where you actually involve parties outside court, where you negotiate an agreement. You have the parties involved, where the family advocate is concerned, for instance, we would have the parties involved and we would have them agree on what's best for their children. What a family advocate will then do is facilitate the process. And what you need to do as a family advocate in mediation, you try and make them focus on the child. You indicate to them that regardless of the fact that they have differences and disputes and they're fighting, we should try and get to a solution that would serve the best interest
of the child.
And in that way you have them buy into the process and you talk about it and ultimately you get to an agreement. But it's mainly outside court.
Let's hold it right there for now, Advocate. While you're still watching Question Time right here on SABC News Channel 404, remember that you can also call and be a part of us right here in studio. The number is 089 110 4210 or 000 2789 110 4210. Rather, just tweet us at Question Time. Well, Question Time will continue after this.
Breaking news. Clientele is giving more back to our clients. In fact, we are giving it all back.
Yes, all your premiums, every single cent you ever paid, on top of your payout amount, in cash, tax-free.
Our new Clientele Ultimate Dignity Plan pays all your premiums back. So let's say you take out 50,000 rands worth of funeral cover. We will pay the full 50,000 rands plus every single premium paid back in cash. Everything within 24 hours.
This is a South African first. No one has ever offered you this before.
Yes. We've been offering you affordable and convenient plans for more than 22 years. You have made us the people's brand. And now, we are the first to pay you all your money back.
It's affordable. Plans start from only 120 rand per month.
SMS payback to 47025 and we'll call you back.
The road to greatness is not an easy one. It's rough, tough, and full of barriers. And there's only one way to master it. Never, ever stop. Dauntless, the all-new Audi Q7.
Well, welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Now, before the break, you were telling me about the need for mediation instead of litigation, but I also understand that you had the 25th anniversary celebrations. What are those about?
The celebration was to actually showcase the milestone. We started off with just one office in 1990, and now we have about 26 offices countrywide. Initially, we were in the seats of the high courts. We were about 6 offices, I think, in 1992, and now we're proud to say we're not only serving the elite, but we're serving South Africans generally. But we also wanted to create awareness about the office, because in as much as we may be 25 years old, we have a lot of people that still do not know about us. And we hope to grow even further. We were graced with the presence of our Honourable Minister, Advocate Masutha, and he was made aware of the challenges. Kimberley, the province that we were in, Northern Cape, they still have challenges that they only have about 2 offices, and it's a vast area geographically in the country. They may not have as many people as we have in Gauteng. However, in terms of demarcations, they are quite vast. And I think the Minister was enlightened to the challenges that we have, and we're hopeful that in the next 5 years we'll be bigger than 26.
Let's go and hear what if Anonymous knows perhaps about the office. We've got Anonymous who's calling us from Gauteng. Anonymous, welcome to the show.
Welcome, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm all right. I just have a generic question that I would like to ask. I'm not sure if it's quite relevant to what has been being discussed. I'm currently married with my wife. We're separated now, currently going through a divorce.
Yes.
Now, we have 2 kids. The 2 kids are both less than 5 years age.
Right.
And then she's living by her sister's place in the same region where I'm staying. Now, she took the kids with to her mother's, which she stays very far away from where we both stay currently. Now, in terms of the situation that we are currently facing, looking into the best interest of the kids, I've been providing for them since their birth, and she cannot afford to take care of them. What would be the best solution for the kids?
All right.
What ground do I have in order to keep them so I can keep on maintaining them? Yeah.
Okay. Do you perhaps want to engage the caller, Anonymous?
I'm sure I'm fine. I'll be able to answer.
Okay.
He said they are going through a divorce, but not yet divorced and currently separated. We are in a position to mediate a parenting plan in the circumstances. A parenting plan is where, as co-holders of parental responsibilities and rights, because they're still married, the father and the mother are co-holders of the same rights to the children. The fact that they're getting divorced and separated, they can enter into a parenting plan, where in a parenting plan they are able to decide residence in terms of children, where are they going to stay? The parent that they're not staying with, how often are they going to see the parent? The maintenance, how are the children going to be provided for? They can talk about things like your education and your religion. So they are able to visit the family advocate's office or any other mediators out there to actually mediate and enter into a parenting plan where they will share their responsibilities and they decide how exactly those responsibilities and rights are going to be exercised.
But in case like his, how often do you have a social worker perhaps that's coming from your department visiting the family and just to see perhaps the relationship between the two families as far as the child is concerned?
When the matter is with the family advocate for investigations, I'll be quite honest, depending on how big the office is. With offices that are inundated with work, you will have home visits taking place where the social circumstances or the actual physical circumstances of the parent are disputed. If you come to us and you say, but I do not like my children being there because there's a lot of drug use or alcohol use, then we will have to go there and satisfy ourselves of the circumstances and whether it would be good for the children to either stay there or even visit there. Right. So in instances where there's a need and the physical circumstances of a parent are disputed by the other parent, then we go there to investigate and satisfy ourselves that sending the children there would be serving their welfare.
All right. Well, let's now go and hear what Martin has to say. Martin is calling us from Mpumalanga. Martin, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, and how are you?
Well, thank you.
I just got one thing. I think I'm the fortunate one of them all, I suppose, because I'm staying with my child. And unfortunately, his mom just passed on last June. May so rest in peace. Yeah. We had an agreement that I would take the child to provide what needs to be provided for the child. And there was no complications where one has to go to the courts or anything. It was just a mutual agreement. So I don't know whether, because I think what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis, you get people who are saying, are being accused of being fathers or not fathers, and now there's this thing of maintenance which is going on. How is that office assisting in terms of those that are falling victims, that when people are being taken through the whole processes of maintenance and so forth, that a paternity test is done by the courts in order to determine, because I think it is in the best interest of the child that it is defined clearly who the real father is. In the main is what we get people crying about. So I think it's one of the things which I hope the office can assist a big deal in terms of determining the right place of the case.
Martin, unfortunately because of time we have to cut you, but I think we do get the core of your question, so we'll just take it from there. I think Martin is raising two questions here. The first issue is the issue of maintenance of the child, and secondly perhaps the issue of the paternity test. Should you find later on that the child you've been supporting is not yours, what kind of mediation do you bring this department as the office?
Well, that's such a challenge that is not a matter that's directly linked to the family advocates. However, in an instance where a father is paying maintenance for a child that's not theirs, and it's not known to them, but it's known to the mother, I suppose that the father would be able to approach the court for damages and try and get back whatever it is that they contributed towards the child. But I would suppose it would be such a difficult determination to make. Would you be keeping slips of whatever it is that you do for your child when you're thinking they're your child? It's something that doesn't always happen. I doubt that would be a matter that would come to the family advocate's office. I think that would be a maintenance court matter. Yeah.
Besides issues of divorce, where the parents are divorcing and there's a separation and there's a child, what kind of cases other than divorcing do you deal with?
We deal with cases where fathers that are not married to the mothers would want to have rights to the children. In terms of Section 21 of the Children's Act, the father would have to meet certain requirements for us to say they have full parental responsibilities and rights to the children.
Right.
And if there's a dispute around whether or not the father meets those rights, the matter would have to come to the family advocate for mediation. So when the matter comes to us for mediation, what we basically mediate is whether the father meets the requirements or not. If the father does meet the requirement, it says automatically they are bearers of full parental responsibilities and rights together with the mother. If they don't, then they would have to approach the court to be granted, whether it be full parental responsibilities and rights or specific parental responsibilities and rights. We also mediate your parental responsibilities and rights agreements.
Okay.
That would be a situation, for instance, where the parents were not married. The mother has full parental responsibilities and rights, and she wants to confer some of those rights to the father. And then we mediate such agreements, and we have parties enter into those agreements.
Okay, well, let's quickly go to Stelo, who's calling us from Soweto. Stelo, welcome to Question Time.
Hi, thanks. Thank you for welcoming.
Welcome. Stelo?
Yes, I separated from the mother of my child. No?
Yes.
The daughter is 1 year, 2 months. She refused me access to the daughter at the age when she was 10 months old. And then I also stopped maintaining the child at that stage. Because I did not want to be a ATM father, where I am not involved emotionally with the child. I couldn't support my child when it comes to education. So I wanted to be fully involved with the growth of the child. So I stopped it. I wanted to involve my parents. But soon after that, she went to the court.
All right.
So, yeah.
So you basically want to be involved in the child's life.
So, I'm not so sure whether legally it was okay for me to stop it, but I did not want it to continue because I see many people maintaining children and that they are not involved in the growth of their children. So I don't know whether the court would assist.
Stelo, we'll get your question. We'll also have to cut you, unfortunately. That was Stelo calling us from Soweto. He's bringing in the issue of being emotionally involved in the child's life. He's a father who would like to be involved in the child's life, but unfortunately, in most cases, especially in the black community, you would find that the mother would then take to the child or take up to the responsibility of giving times to see the child.
I think of concern, what I picked up from what Stelo said, I think he wants to make maintenance dependent on contact to the child. It's very, very important that we appreciate that those are not codependent. Contact doesn't have to exist because there's maintenance, and maintenance does not have to exist because there is contact. Hence, we have institutions that you can go to be assisted. And I think the whole idea is to yet again protect the best interest of the child. You must appreciate that if you stop maintenance, then you're saying the well-being of the child, because whether or not we like it, well-being goes hand in hand with giving finances as well. If you're not going to be funding the child, then he's saying, as a parent, you're not taking into consideration what's best for your child. The same goes for contact. Mom can't say, I don't give contact because the father doesn't pay maintenance. Hence, you have your courts where you can go to. So what Stelo needs to do, what I didn't pick up from what he said is whether or not they were married. But
so what can people with cases like Stelo's do? Or how can they reach your offices? How available are your offices throughout the country?
Like I said, we have about 26. However, we have...
Is there a number to call, perhaps?
I will give you the national office's number. The reason being that that's a center place where you can get all the numbers from. The national office, the Chief Family Advocate's office number is 012 357
357
8021.
8021. Let's say it again, 012
012 357-8021.
Okay.
I can also give the Johannesburg office numbers. It's 011-333-724. Pretoria office, it's 012-323-0760. You'll be able to get an advocate assisting you. We also have family law assistance if there's information that you require. If you need to be redirected to an office outside Gauteng, we will be able to give you the numbers for the offices.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Advocate, for joining us and giving us the information that we needed about the Family Advocate's Office. And hopefully people will go out there and take it up to them to ensure that they mediate instead of litigate some of these cases. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that was Question Time. Thank you so much to you. A big thank you to my studio guest as well for joining us today. My name is Sipiwe Nzawumbi, and this was Question Time. Goodbye.